Yeah, so this video is actually directed at Christian Americans because, well, I'm actually a little bit confused. So please, can you clarify it for me? What makes you a Christian? Because Christian literally means Christ-like, and I don't really see any Christ-like behavior from Christian Americans because it seems to me that they are quite okay with their taxes funding the slaughter of 10,000 innocent children. They literally do not speak out against this, and if you bring it to their attention and actually address their silence, they will attack you. So I think that it has to be that these Christian Americans just aren't informed, because I wouldn't be able to understand how they could be silent if they knew the truth. And so I'm actually going to make this video and bring the truth to their attention so that they are now informed and that they can then be Christ-like and actually speak out against the evil that their taxes are funding right now. So I'm first going to start by giving them the data from the UN, and as of the 11th of January 2024, the UN has published that 10,000 little innocent children have died in Gaza under the weapons and bombs funded by Christian Americans. And I'm often accused by these Christian Americans that the information of 10,000, the data that I'm providing of 10,000 children is wrong, and I'm just making it up. So I made sure to actually provide this information from the UN website. I also wanted them to know that the food convoys going into Gaza were stopped about a month ago, and so the children over there are now slowly starving to death. And the politicians who have stopped the food from going into Gaza and are slowly starving these little innocent children to death are actually being funded by your US taxes as well. In fact, it's so bad over in Gaza now that they are resorting to slaughtering their animals. So I would ask every Christian American whether they find it acceptable that children have to live on birdseed and slaughtered animals that were probably their pets because their taxes are funding a government who is preventing them from accessing food. Because again, is this Christ-like behavior, Christian Americans? Then we have an article from ABC News that says that the people in Gaza are one step away from famine. So we're about to see a mass starvation event happening over in Gaza, being funded by Christian Americans, and 250,000 of these people in Gaza who are one step away from famine are actually children, because we know 50% of the people in Gaza are children. So again, Christian Americans, are you okay with this? Are you okay with your taxes funding this starvation event that is about to occur over in Gaza? So if they aren't dying under the bombs that your taxes are funding, you're actually funding politicians who are preventing these children from accessing food. In fact, there are reports that some of these children are having their limbs amputated without anesthetic. Do you find that acceptable, Christian Americans? Would you find it acceptable if your own children had to have a limb removed without anesthetic? Would you find it acceptable if your own children had to exist on birdseed and eat their pets and their animals just to survive because a government was preventing them from accessing food. If this was happening to your children, Christian Americans, would you expect others in the world, other countries to actually speak out against this evil being enacted on your children? Because you claim to be a Christian nation. You claim to be followers of Christ, and yet your behavior is wicked and evil. Why are you so wicked and evil, Christian Americans? Why are you okay with your taxes enabling this behavior that is causing so much horror and misery to people who live over in Gaza, and especially to the children, because they are completely innocent? I mean, if you want to hate the adults over in Gaza because they're Muslim, and obviously you think that some other God created these Muslim adults over in Gaza, okay, there must be an American God and there must be a Muslim God, because somehow you have fucking deluded yourselves that you are elevated and superior in the eyes of God the Father as opposed to his other creations. Because I can't imagine that you would believe that unless you thought that God the Father sees you as special and doesn't see any of his other creation as special. Every single child that is created by God is special and precious to God, not just children who were created in America. Every single child of every single nation, of every single religion, of every single skin color is precious to God, just as precious as you are, just as precious as your children are. But obviously, you seem to have forgotten that, or obviously you think that some other God created those Muslim adults over in Gaza. So let's just remove them from the equation, shall we? Because obviously you have too much hatred in your hearts to actually find empathy and compassion for these people. But what about the children? What have the children ever done to you to deserve your silence, to deserve you being okay with your taxes funding their slaughter, to be okay with them having their limbs removed with no anesthetic? What have they done to you to deserve you being completely complicit in the evil being enacted on them right now? And in fact, not only complicit, but you are funding this wickedness and this evil with your taxes, and then you remain completely silent about it. And then we have this article here from the Times of Israel, who report that the bakeries are being smashed in Gaza and they are exacerbating the hunger crisis. So these people that your taxes are funding are literally admitting that they are destroying bakeries over in Gaza and exacerbating the food problem, the food crisis, the starvation that is being experienced by these little children. And where are you, Christian Americans? Where is your voice? Where are you speaking out against this? Do you really think that this is Christ-like behavior? Do you think if Jesus was here right now that he would be going and hanging out with you at some Taylor Swift concert? Or going and hanging out with you at your church, singing gospels and praying? Or do you think that he would be over in Gaza helping these suffering children? Because if you think that he would be hanging out with you while 10,000 children were suffering and dying under bombs, then you are fucking delusional. You are wicked and evil, and you have convinced yourself that you are a follower of Christ when you are actually a follower of the devil. Because let's be honest. The most evil nation on the planet right now that has enacted the most destruction and violence on others is America, is your country. And yet you have channels like this abolitionists rising channel who claim to be fighting the culture of death. And so when I read fighting the culture of death, well, I would think they must be fighting the US military industrial complex, because I can't think of any bigger culture of death than the US military industrial complex. But no, they're actually just hanging around college campuses and picking fights with progressive liberal students for internet content. And then what do you Christian Americans do? You all pile in the comments section of their videos and have a complete hate fest, judging these children, these young adults, on what they wear, on how stupid they are, and the color of their hair, while completely supporting this hypocrite whose taxes are funding the slaughter of 10,000 children, and yet he will not upload even one video denouncing this evil and wickedness. And if anyone dares addresses this, if anyone dares bring this to their attention, do you think that they actually then identify that they are being silent about this evil and wickedness and then go to rectify their behavior? Oh no. They actually turn and attack anybody that brings their attention to their hypocrisy and their silence about the slaughter of innocent children being funded by their taxes. In fact, we have comments like this one. What about the Israeli infants that were slaughtered by hand by Hamas? Yes, Anna Rodriguez, that is terrible, wicked, and evil. And Hamas are animals. But that does not justify the slaughter of 10,000 innocent children. How many more need to die before you're happy, Anna? Another 10,000? And not just Anna. This isn't the only comment I see when I hear, somebody trying to defend the behavior of these politicians in the Israeli government by asking me, well, what are you saying about Hamas? What about Hamas? Hamas are using their people as shields. That is just not working anymore. That propaganda from the IDF is just a complete load of shit. And everybody knows that now. And you know it too. But you're just basically in denial because you can't admit how evil you are by justifying that behavior. You can't admit what a coward you are for justifying those actions, that slaughter that your US taxes are funding. So, Christian Americans, you are actually the biggest hypocrites on the planet, and you are actually not followers of Christ. You are not Christ-like. You are not Christian. You are fakes. You are frauds. You are wicked. You are evil. You do not follow the path of good. You follow the path of evil. You know that the reason this person here, this hypocrite, who makes money from fighting all day with these progressive liberals and makes good money from internet content and, selling shirts. I mean, his main link is all about his store. But the reason he doesn't call out this evil and this horror being enacted on these innocent children is because he knows that 99% of his subscribers all stand with the culture of death, the US military industrial complex. So you people are not on the side of the good guys. You people are on the side of evil. You people are the evil. And you are walking the wide path with the evil. So I would suggest that you actually get real, stop being cowards, stop being hypocrites, and start speaking out against the evil that your taxes are funding right now, because children are dying and children are slowly starving to death. And every day that you say nothing, you become just as evil as the people that you are following. So I would suggest you turn from that path. Well, I would really look forward to you addressing this video. Peace out.